Hi, Gerry and Miri here.
Hi, I'm Gerry Dragomir. I'm a sport coach, been coaching for about 40 years. I've coached athletes from 4 years old up to the Olympic level, with medalists at many international meets, and that's about it for me
And I'm
right
Miri
now.
Malkin. I'm clinical hypnotherapist. I'm mind coach. I work with athletes. I work with parents and kids, and I focus on anxiety. And we are here to talk about resiliency.
That's going to be a fun conversation.
Yeah, sure is. How do you see it with your other athletes?
Um, well, I think it's a really good test of their resilience. Like their ability to deal with an adverse situation. I mean, they're not bouncing back from adversity, but they're managing an adverse situation, something that they don't like. And the more resilient the athlete, the more likely they are um, to be coming up with these alternatives and other ways of going about things, or for a time anyway, being able to work alone perfectly happily. um, and yeah, you mentioned that it's change is an important part of that, but it's also but the resilience allows you to adapt to change that you may not have wanted, or may not like. Uh,
Right.
so so I mean, it may be that underlying that is the issue of resilience. My athletes, my group, like, just shocked the pants off of me. I called a meeting of everybody, after university was closed and all that happened and their season was abandoned, and and brought them all into my office. Still, we have enough space that they could be 6 feet apart and we could be safe, but and we went around and to talk about how everybody, and it was like nothing had happened. They were all, oh well, we're just going to do this and this now, and it was like, oh, you guys don't need me at all. You're managing this perfectly well. And what it came down to was that they knew all the right words to say. They knew what the proper correct position was. So
Mm-hmm.
it took a while to get to this is really bugging me, and it's wrong and it's unfair and I don't like it, and and that, rather than it was almost like their initial response was ultra resilience. So we had to probe that a bit in order to get to, yeah, but this is your entire season. You were going to win this year, and your entire season is gone. Somebody took that away from you. Doesn't that feel like a loss?
And how did they react to that? That the entire season, and the reason why I'm asking is because I read the other day an article, I think we talked about it, an article on The Guardian where Serena Williams was saying,
Mm-hmm.
mentioning her anxiety about big tournaments that were canceled, like the Indian Wells, and later on it was others like the Roland Garros and Wimbledon. And there is, you know, uncertainty about what's going to happen, and all the things that they train about, all the things that they are used to do in a regular season.
There might be a bit more to that. She might have a slightly different agenda. She is living on borrowed time right now, and every
That's
month that
true.
goes by is a month less of her career. Now it's the same month for everybody, but her career has extremely limited time left in it. So losing this is like maybe 50% of what she's got left is now gone.
Yeah.
That's a much more severe consequence than it is for a young athlete who the month out of their career that they lose is a month out of their career. And their career is many, many, many months long.
It's true, but what I got from the interview, and maybe, I didn't maybe think about it specifically about Serena, but about athletes that were practicing towards the Olympic Games and towards other, events that are happening throughout the year. And now everything that they work to so hard, all those months that leading to those events, it's like, okay, so now what we are doing, how those athletes are building resilience almost on the spot?
Kind of being forced to. I mean, we've had a lot of analogies in this last few days, sort of relating it to a war or a wartime type mentality. And I mean, the response that I'm seeing from the athletes that are around me, not only the ones that I train, but the ones who train in and around the areas where we work, the younger ones, there's way more stoicism than I thought there was in this generation, which I find quite heartening. And that it's okay, that didn't happen, I'll just move on. The ones that it's affecting more are the older athletes, the ones that go, wait a minute, I was retiring after the Olympics. I was going to be retired in August, and now it's another year. I have to do another year of this. Can I actually survive another year of this?
Right.
So that there is that, like, I think it affects the older athletes much more deeply and profoundly than it affects the younger ones.
Is there anything that you as a coach can work on and help them, support them to develop this kind of resiliency, the older one and the younger one, although you said the younger one are much more resilient to that?
Well, from my perspective, the one of the more effective things that they can do, one of the more effective things that I think that an athlete can do in this situation, who's an older athlete, who's an athlete who is coming towards the end of their career, is to pick up on some of the post-career things that need to be attended to when the retirement happens, and get those going now. And use this time to do that. Take your mind off what you're missing and start building something productive, because while our performance depends a lot on our athletic conditioning and our knowledge of the sport, by the time you get to be an accomplished athlete, that is all second nature, and that doesn't get lost. I mean, I can still catch a baseball without even looking in that direction, just because I did it for 30 years. And It's been 20 years since I've done it, but it still happens automatically. I don't even think about it. And so all of that's all built in, and they have that. What they're missing is that a piece of their life that provides fulfillment, because the fulfillment is gone right now, temporarily. And so you need an alternative fulfillment, and that helps to make you more resilient now, because now you've got one more choice than you had before. So
again, we're back to the choice, right?
Choice is important. That's why we live in a democracy, and because it's all about choice.
Right. So if you think about this way, then finding what fulfills the person, the athlete, is a very essential piece of the puzzle.
Absolutely essential. And so that may not have anything to do with sport. Yeah. And that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because it's about performing excellently, and you can perform excellently in anything you attempt. It's learning how to be good at something, anything. But I'm going to add just one little caveat here. I am not I am absolutely not, and never would talk about perfection.
Right.
That should never even be on the table.
So the perfection that you don't want to mention or don't want to talk about is the perfection in practicing, in life, in athletic life, like professional life. What kind of perfection you don't want to talk about?
Well, it's the concept of perfection. Perfection
Okay.
is like achieving the ultimate, the perfect whatever. The perfect whatever actually can't ever exist.
So it's the race for.
Well, I don't think it's a productive pursuit. Going back to the question,
Yeah.
is this going to improve my performance? I think perfection deteriorates performance, not improves it. There's one exception. There's one exception that I would accept as something that you could perfect. And because if you can perfect correcting errors, then you're golden.
Right.
So you can get
But then
really
again,
good
it's
at
the
fixing
process.
mistakes.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I'm asking perfect errors. Do you talk about the process of perfecting errors, like the lesson learned and what you implement after, the process that you implement from that? Or just keep perfecting your error, keep working on your error and become better?
Yeah, it's getting good at fixing them. First, I mean, the first part of that is to recognize that it was an error at all. And then the next thing you need to do is look at what was the origin, where did it come from, how did it happen, and then what do we learn from this that we don't do next time or do differently next time. Some long time ago, I learned this. I was firmly in the perfection camp some years ago, and almost constantly frustrated because the mistakes kept cropping up over and over and over again. We'd mess up this, we'd mess up that. This would be out of our control, and it would happen, and we'd mess everything up. And it was like one day it just dawned on me that, if I just got good at fixing the errors, then I don't have to worry about being perfect because any errors that happen, anything that happens, I know I can fix it. And so now I'm not concerned about the errors. I'm not concerned. And as soon as that happened, the error rate dropped by a lot.
Right,
We
because
stopped,
you're not focusing on them.
right. We stopped making mistakes that we had to correct, but we still knew we were really good at correcting them. And so we had no fear of making them.
So in that context, what do you think about failure? Is there something like failure, or is it just a lesson?
Yeah, failure is the inability or the lack of learning. So it's a failure if something happened that wasn't something that should have happened, and you don't learn from it.
Right. Right. So even if a competing athlete is going to an event and supposed to run or race walk in, certain pace, but is not doing so, and it comes out, I don't know, last or whatever, that is not appropriate to their time,
Mm-hmm.
they don't need to see it as a failure unless they don't learn from it.
Yes. I mean, everything is a success. Some successes just look different than others.
Good framing.
But there's always this one thing. So there's one thing that there is one time when learning cannot happen. And most people don't get this. So anybody who's listening to this, you need to take some time to think about this. You cannot learn from success. You can't learn from winning. That's the only time when you can't learn. You mentioned it the other day that we're inherently wired and programmed to think negatively.
Right.
And so this is part of that. That when we win, there is nothing to learn because it doesn't resonate with the way that we think. When we're successful in a way that we didn't expect, sometimes called a failure, we can learn from that because that resonates with us. We understand. We can fit all the pieces of what went wrong. We're really bad at fitting together the pieces of what went right.
Yeah. And you know, in most times our mind doesn't even register success.
Yeah, maybe not. Although, I mean, you get a trophy in that, so
Yeah,
maybe
but you
that's why
know,
we have to have all those trophies, because we can't remember it if we don't have a trophy.
yeah, but you know, if you look at it, yeah, I did this, I did that. It was good, it was okay, but I failed there. So
Yes.
we very often emphasize the failure, or the something that we see as not a very good success.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, and I don't think that, for me, that doesn't mean there's something wrong with winning. It's just that you can't learn when you're winning, so you have to find other places to learn. And winning is all about celebration, because there's not too many of us that are really keen on celebrating what we call our failures, but we really like to celebrate a good success. And that's what that time's for. Do that. You're not going to learn anything. You might as well go out and go crazy and do whatever, because there's no learning involved here. And then just get on to the next thing.
Right.
But okay, we wandered way off the topic here.
But I think, well, I guess this you won't put in, but I think it's part of being resilience, right? What do you want to learn from?
Yes, and the more you can learn from the from the errors and adjustments that you need to make, the better you get at whatever you're doing.
So thank you for listening. Here, what we like, the main points we were talking about. So the path to improvement is to learn what to correct rather than what to perfect. And another thing is count your successful moment. Again, if you have any question, anything at all, you can always reach out to us. Our information details are down here below, and you're very welcome to reach out and continue the conversation. Thank you very much.
Yeah, have a good sports day.
Thank you.